Colin. Welcome back to the Selling Portage podcast.
Well, how you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Good.
I was away on vacation. Oh, you got a Batman mug. Okay.
I always have the Batman mug.
Mhm.
There's a reason for that.
Why is that?
I'm Batman.
Well, I've never seen you and Batman in the same room together, so
That's very true.
there is that. The evidence points. The evidence supports your claim.
That's right.
Yeah. What's happened with you this week?
Well, it's actually been a pretty busy week. Got a couple, did a couple listing appointments, so watch for those. A couple new ones coming up, which is good. Just taking a look at the local market, we haven't hit that so-called spring season yet.
I think we're here. I think it's here. Every agent I've spoken to in the past week has said they've got listings coming.
Oh, okay, perfect.
And I've talked to quite a few. So right now, as of today, 21 homes. That's it. 21 homes in the city listed. The rest are, I think there's a total of like 27, but the rest are like empty lots or vacant land or
Right.
one that I think is probably a tear down. I'll let the public go see which one they think that it is. But
Yeah.
foundation problems. It's a tough one. But it's been busy. I've been away for like 9 days, but I closed 2 deals while I was away.
Good.
So things are happening.
That's a good thing.
And by the time you see this, 18 Carlisle will be live and listed.
There we go.
Yeah. And we put up a big place in McGregor a couple days ago.
I saw that yesterday. Looks like an impressive house.
It is an impressive house. And the peculiar thing about this house, because this doesn't often happen, is we're selling it fully furnished.
Oh, wow.
So everything that comes in, like the owners of this home spared no expense. So that when they did their cabinetry and their kitchen and their built-ins and all that, they had a certain color. Well, they went to a custom furniture manufacturer in, I believe, Morden, had them make them a dining room table and chairs, like high-end, and then brought them to the same company that did their cabinets and had them stain it to match all the kitchen cabinets and all the built-ins and all the built-ins in the dining room. So
Wow.
that table alone is, to replace that, it's a substantial cost.
Well, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, and I was actually having the conversation last night. I was at a showing with a client of mine, and it was a power of attorney situation. The house had been vacated by the owners, and my clients had said, there's a lot of neat stuff here, and I said, well, sometimes in a situation like this, if you write in the offer to keep all of the stuff, that sometimes makes your offer a little more attractive, because then
they don't have to get rid of it.
They don't have to do anything with the rest of it. They can just walk away. So
here's where it can cause a problem. You need to put a clause in there that states that the contents are being sold for the value of like $1 or something like that. Otherwise, when lenders see it, they'll want a value put on the furniture.
Oh, good call.
And that way, when that happens, they will not lend you the perceived amount of the value of the contents. Same thing goes if like there's a $15,000 ride-on lawnmower or tractor that's included. They'll want that removed from the mortgage unless it's sold for like $1.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's what you got to do.
Okay. Well, I just learned something
of information. Yeah. And I learned that from Amanda White from Ideal Mortgage Solutions.
Oh, there we go. Shout out to Amanda.
Yeah. When we were putting stuff in, that's who informed me that I had to put that clause in there to satisfy a lender. Yeah.
Perfect.
Otherwise,
I've worked with Amanda quite a bit, and I will give her a shout out because she works really hard, and she's helped a lot of my clients out with getting a mortgage and finding a lender for them. So
Not
shout
that I
out to
want
Amanda.
to. I mean, I have good experiences with a lot of lenders in town, like Brady McFarland's good at RBC, and um, I
Stride
find
Credit
that
Union.
for himself. Oh yeah, and of course, everyone at Stride is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But Amanda is also really good. It's your preference. We do not show any bias at all, and we
Yeah.
certainly don't want to do that either. We don't want to get anyone thinking we're directing people a certain way.
Right.
When it comes right down to it, we give names and numbers, and they give a call.
That's the same thing goes with law offices for buyers or sellers. That's always a question we ask. Who would you like to use, right?
Yeah.
And they say, well, who do you recommend? I said, I don't recommend anybody. I just want to provide you with the list of locals and their contacts, and it's up to you to choose. So
Yes, shop around. But there's a lot of services that I'm very, very confident that they will get good service if they use them. So
right.
regardless of who they choose, there's lots of options out there.
Yep.
And we asked them who they're using because as realtors, we try to make it as easy on our clients as possible. And I will usually communicate directly with lenders or insurance providers on behalf of the client to tell them everything they need to know about the deal. Insurance companies often have lots of questions that the buyer may not know.
Right.
Plumbing, electrical, that sort of thing.
It's difficult to answer. I remember when I bought this house that I'm currently in, I got a call from the insurance broker, a few days after the offer was accepted. And he's asking me, well, how far did the rain gutters extend out from the house? I'm like, I don't know. Well, how big is the panel? I don't know. As a buyer, you're in the house for 20 minutes to an hour, to make this decision. So you don't really take notes on a lot of the stuff that the insurance companies want to know. And that's where we come in, because not only do we have a lot of the answers in front of us, but we also have access to go back and find out this information if need be.
We certainly do. And you know what, Colin?
What?
I'm looking at my clock.
Oh, yes, 10 a.m.
We got to jump on with our guest.
Okay, who's our guest today?
We have Chief Don Smoke joining us, so we're going to get to know him better. I know him well. I've known him for years, decades. But let's get into it.
Awesome.
Chief Don Smoke, how are you doing, sir?
I am good, Coda. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Hey, I'm proud to call you Coda too, but can you tell us what that means to people?
Yeah, Coda is a term that means ally, my friend. And when you call someone your Coda, it means just a little bit more than your best friend in our way. Yeah.
Yes, I'm learning these things as we go along, the different words and stuff, and I'm proud to actually start to uptake some of that stuff. So let's talk about history, because we've known each other for decades, but maybe people don't know about, where you started, where you grew up. A lot of people probably don't know where Dakota Plains even is, if I'm being honest. Right. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your early days.
Well, my early days, I was born in Portage Prairie in 1971, and I lived in Dakota Plains till about I think it was 82 or something like that, when I ended up moving out to Sioux Valley for a bit to go to school out there, live with my grandparents, sort of a kinship care thing that our people do. So I was able to spend a year with my grandparents out there, which was very valuable to me, very cultural, very traditional. So I learned a lot of my teachings there. And then I came back to Dakota Plains till about 82, 83. And then my parents realized that I was playing quite a bit of sports in Portage Prairie. So I ended up going back to Portage Prairie there and going to school there. And and just been back and forth between there and Dakota Plains. We are located here in Dakota Plains. We are south of Portage Prairie, about 30 to 35 kilometers, I guess, just south. We are right between Long Plain First Nation and Rosendale, actually. So, and as a young man, we attended school in Rosendale, myself and my relatives here. So,
Where'd you end up going on? Where'd you end up going to high school?
I actually ended up going to high school at Portage Collegiate Institute,
which is still there to this day.
Yeah, still there. And some of my best times, I played some high school hockey there, some high school fastball, and yeah, we actually won the provincial championships in 1989. So that's a long time ago, but it's still a fond memory. Portage Trojans.
The PCI Trojans, man. That's still the team.
Oh yes, they're still going.
I was gonna ask you what kind of sports you were into and when you were younger, and do you still play anything?
I still play a little bit of hockey, not as much as I used to, and I still play some slow pitch. I grew up playing a lot of fastball. Unfortunately, in '91, I was in a car accident and I shattered my leg, my tibia and fibia. So I've had a plate in there since. And as you get older, those types of things start to affect you a little more. So obviously slowing down now in my 50s. So yeah,
I'm almost there. I can empathize. Yeah. But you're also an aspiring golfer.
Yeah. I don't know if I call it that, but I enjoy the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, in this group of the three of us, I can confidently say that you are on top of that mountain.
I guess we'll have to go out and have a match and see if that adds.
And I can confidently say that Ryan is on the bottom.
I know I've ran into you guys a few times on the course, but we actually haven't got to get together yet. So
Colin's in big trouble this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big trouble. Yeah,
we do play in the men's league at the Portage Golf Course, and we never tend to play against the pairing that we're paired up with. It's always just a competition between Ryan and I to see who pays for the golf cart the following week. So
nice.
Yeah, I beat him about 6 times in a row, and then we decided we were going to pay for the golf cart, and then all of a sudden I started losing. So I think he hustled me a little bit. So
life's a hustle.
What did you do I know how your career evolved, but let's tell the people, like, from high school on, kind of what was your role?
Well, after high school, I moved back to Dakota Plains, and I was working at our local greenhouse here. We have a big family. My dad had 9 siblings, and then of course my uncle and my kushi, my grandparents. So they all had kids, and so I had a lot of cousins around my age, quite a few, probably 30, maybe 40 of us together. So by the time we hit 18, 19, 20 years old after high school, we were basically all working at that greenhouse. We were cutting down trees for the big boiler, and some people were doing the seeding, and some were doing the transplanting, so stuff like that. And then after my car accident, I was having a little trouble with being able to work and stuff. And one day my kushi and my uncle Ernie, who was the chief at the time, came to see me at home, and they said, "You're going to university." And I was pretty excited, and until I realized I had to go to Lethbridge. And so I was like, wow. And so we already had Ashley, and she was 3 years old. And so when they told me that, I was a little bit scared, but I ended up relocating to Lethbridge, Alberta. And the reason why I went there was, at the time, in the early 90s, self-government was a huge thing for First Nations people. And the federal government was making that, well-known and making it an option. So they decided that I should go take a course called Business Enterprises and Self-Governing Systems, BESS for short. So I went to University of Lethbridge for 3.5 years. And then I came out of there with a diploma. I did not get to finish my degree because my uncle Ernie, who was the chief, he actually passed away when I was down there. And then I came home for the funeral, and then I had another uncle, my dad's other sibling, pass during that week. So it was a real shock to the community. And my dad had asked me if I would consider staying here in the community and eventually going back to Lethbridge and helping him in the political area here. They always had the idea that one day I'd be helping to lead the community. And so that happened. And I unfortunately didn't get to finish, but I'm still here, and I'm still helping the community as the chief, and still trying to live up to the, the traditions and the culture that they taught us, as well as their expectations.
So we went from that. How did you end up like you were involved with the school for a lot of years?
Yeah, prior to me coming in as the chief and my father passing away in October of 2021, I was an education director. So we had a small school here. We had about 12 of our own students. And then we realized that people started to notice our education system here in the community. We had just a little tiny building. And we had people in the area. We had some farmers inquiring about potentially sending their kids here. But because of the different regulations, the provincial thing and the federal thing, it never happened. But then a lot of parents from Long Plain First Nation started to reach out. So we took some kids in, and then the council appointed me as the education director to oversee that. And we had a staff of 2 at the time, and we went up to 30 students. And then my father and the other council members went to the federal government and said, if you give us a big school for at least 100 students, we will fill it. And the federal government kind of laughed at that. They didn't think it was possible because of the size of our community. But so I worked through that. I was a big part of getting the Manitoba First Nation school system off the ground as well, MFNSS, myself and a few others that were involved in education. So now we have a school, 25 years later, we have a school of over 100 students. We're capped at 100. And we have 30 students that travel to Portage. So we have 130 students on our nominal roll. And now we need a bigger school. And so now we're telling the federal government that that very thing, we need a bigger school because we're bursting at the seams. So it's been quite the journey, but we have a really well-rounded education system. We have a lot of culture, and especially the Dakota language in our school. And of course, we have our own sacred teachings as well that our students are taught on the daily. So yeah, it's been a long time, but it's been worth it. And we are under that aggregate, which is Manitoba First Nation school system. It's the first school division. I don't like that word school division, but it's the first school division First Nations operated that anywhere. And so we're a part of that. And with that came a whole lot of resources. So prior to that, our teachers were very innovative and creative just to get by because we were really underfunded. And then now we have a staff of about 30 employees. So we went from about 3 employees to about 30. And we went from 13 students to over 100 now. And yeah, so the school it's a bright spot in our community. And yeah, we're very proud of it. And like I said, I do believe we have some of the best educators around. And a lot of them hung in there too when they were underpaid and under-resourced. So it shows that their heart's here in Dakota Plains.
That's fantastic. And this is why I like doing these podcasts, because you get to know things that you had no idea were taking place, right? That's an impressive growth with the school, absolutely. And I knew you were interested in education because you also serve as a trustee at the Portage Prairie School Division, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask you, I have got it on my list here to ask you what got you involved with that, but you have a lifetime of life in education, so that answers that question.
You know what? I felt it was my duty to put my name in the hat at the time, just due to the fact that over 50% of the student population in Portage is First Nation. And I think it's important that, we have a voice at the table. And sort of as a liaison as well, I find myself being in the middle of a lot of the parents and a lot of the schools, just trying to be the mediator many times, but also to reassure our parents that the school division is doing all they can to make sure that they incorporate our culture, our languages, our teachings, and of course safety, right? Just to ensure that everybody's safe and that our First Nations people are heard. So I kind of ran on a whim, and I didn't really do any real politicking, I guess, or campaigning, and but ended up getting in. So it shows that Portage is they're serious about the First Nations input, and that it's progressive. Yeah, so
that's great. And what's the population on your nation?
We got about 300 people on our band list, and it fluctuates between 120 and 150 that live in the community.
Okay.
Yeah, we have members that live in Winnipeg, Brandon, etc. So.
And so quite a few of those students are coming from Long Plain then?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happens is they're on our nominal roll throughout middle years, and then once they graduate here from grade 8, they're on our nominal roll. So we assume the transportation
Okay.
and the tuitions and all those through our system.
That's great.
Well, and then we then we move forward, and I don't want to go too fast, but maybe can you explain the hereditary system, because I'm sure that most people that watch this might not understand that it is a hereditary system at Dakota Plains. So can you tell me a little bit about how that works versus an elected system of leadership?
Yes. So as Dakota, Lakota, Nakota nations, we never had the electoral process. That's a European thing, and so our people chose to keep the hereditary system where the families, the head of each families, will get together and they will discuss who they think should be the leader, and the individual should be someone who has proven themselves, have done those things that to gain the trust and the confidence of the people. So we're still hanging on to that. And actually, in December of 2022, I won a federal court decision saying that the hereditary system is still a legal thing, and that I was able to maintain my seat as a hereditary chief. And just to go back a little, when I was a little guy, my uncles, for some reason, knew that one day I would be a leader. And so they talked about it throughout, the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and that I would be a leader one day. And also my grandfather, Unkal Kizimaza, my grandpa Half Iron from Sioux Valley, he gave me a Dakota name when I was a little guy, and it's Toyate Abedizia Hokshida, which means boy who looks out over his people. So it just kind of goes with everything and just leading up to it. And so it took me, when I came out of university, I expected to be the chief then and there, because I felt I had the training and I felt I had the confidence and the blessing of the people. But I was basically told by our elders to just wait, that I had some work to do yet, and I had some changes to make in my life. And so I did that, and eventually I became chief after my father passed. Well, just prior to him passing, himself and my two uncles were the last three remaining siblings from the original Smoke family that were the pioneers of this community in Dakota Plains. They signed the band council resolution appointing me the hereditary chief, and there was a challenge, but like I said, we're past that now, and it held up, and so here I am. It's one of the last ones in the area. I know British Columbia has quite a few hereditary chiefs as well, but with ours, it's just a little bit different when it comes to our Dakota and our way of doing things. It took me 27 years to put on my wapaha, my headdress, my ceremonial headdress, which it came from my father through ceremony, and so I take it very serious when I put that headdress on. Those feathers, every feather on there is it's supposed to mean that there was some kind of a victory or some sort of an accomplishment. But I have to give most of the credit of those feathers to my father, who did a lot for our community. And now here I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what? I can we talk a little bit about the history between, like, how Dakota Plains was formed and the history between Portage La Prairie and Dakota Plains? Because when you said that we are in a state where we are progressive, it took us a while to get there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming. So Dakota Plains and a few other communities, the Dakota Nations in Manitoba, we actually would wander with the buffalo. We'd roam with the buffalo back and forth. I call it a buffalo map. Wherever the buffalo were, that's where our people were throughout North America. The medicine line, the border between Canada and the U.S. meant nothing to us. Meant nothing to the buffalo. And of course, we lived off the buffalo and gave us everything we needed. So when they put the medicine line up, and when we actually settled, many of our people were settled in and around Portage La Prairie. And so we stayed there, and then we started to progress on our own. My ancestors, they all chipped in a couple of $100, which would have been a lot of money back then.
Mm-hmm.
And they purchased some land just right at the Portage Prairie there. And so they were developing that area. They were starting to do their own homes and their gardens and their own roads. And then so the federal government and the city of Portage Prairie, for different reasons, decided that they didn't want our Dakota people there anymore. So they did up a resolution basically saying that they were going to relocate our Dakota there, even though we purchased that land. It would be so they removed us from there, and we moved to a couple different locations, and so ended up where we are now. And I have to say, it would be akin to going to a farmer and telling them, I know you bought that land there, but we're going to take it back, and you have to move, right? And I always use that scenario just because of where we are, right, with all of the farmers in the area and all of the land that's here. So we ended up here, and for years and years and years now, we've been, I guess, battling with the federal government and with the city of Portage Prairie, to get that recognition and to get an apology, just so we can know, teach our children that this history is correct and it's been acknowledged, and so they can use that and build a better life. And so this past summer, it was 2024, the city of Portage Prairie actually came out to our Palo Arbor here in Dakota Plains, and they had a council meeting where they rescinded that motion, and they gave us an apology. So to us, that was huge. And it wasn't too long after that the federal government did the same thing. They did an apology, and they acknowledged that we were wrong as a people, and that the forced relocation sort of took us away from a very sustainable and potentially progressive area to where we are now, where we're pretty far from the highway, and so it's hard for us to develop here economically. But because, like I said, because the city council is progressive to this day, we have some opportunities in place right now through economic development initiative with us, as well as Long Plain First Nation, where we're hoping to tap into some partnerships and to be able to gain some revenues, some own source revenues from that area, so we can enhance our programs that exist in our communities out here, like our health program, our education program, all those things that can make a better life for our people.
Yeah.
That's kind of it in a nutshell. There's a lot to it, but
there's a lot to it, and if anyone's looking for it, search it online. You'll find the ceremony that happened. You'll find the details of it all, and go through it. It's everyone has a history, and sometimes people make the wrong decision, and they take steps to make it right as much as possible.
Yeah, and I have to add too, like I always say, rather than looking at the rich history in the area of Portage Prairie and the First Nations people, rather than looking at it as a negative thing, we can use that as a positive thing. It's a very historical area, and I always say that we have the potential to have the hub here of just one big truth and reconciliation push, right, and just work together and just make the place a better place, right? So that's always been one of my goals.
Yeah, and that is something we're working towards. If someone were to come out to well, let's just say, what does Dakota Plains have on the go right now? Like, what are we all working on out there?
Well, in the last 3 years, we've brought in, I think it's 23 new homes. We're sitting in a new band office here. We have an enhanced Jordan's Principle program. We have an enhanced addictions program. And we have our Women's Lodge, which is a safe space for our women to gather and to look after one another, and in many cases just to break bread and enjoy each other's company. And we have right now we're working with Manitoba First Nations police system to come back to the community June 1st, which will mean we'll have more police presence. I know the RCMP are underfunded and they have a hard time. They're understaffed as well, so they have a hard time getting out here, and we understand that and respect that. So I guess we're working on a healthier and safer community, and making sure that our children and our elders are a priority. We also brought in a grocer pod where we grow our own vegetables. We brought back our chickens, which we had years ago. So we have eggs from there and chickens. And next on our list is we're going to be bringing in some cattle and or buffalo. So we're bringing some buffalo back here too.
That's great.
It's in the works, and we're excited about that. Again, though, one of our issue is land. So we're dealing with some local landowners in hopes that we can access some of that through lease or purchase or whatever it takes to bring our buffalo home to our people. We need that spirit back here.
That is interesting, and we'll talk after the podcast a little bit about some ideas I have around that. But
Right on.
there's some opportunities.
Now, I just wanted to ask about your family. You and I have crossed paths on numerous occasions over the last few years, and I had the pleasure of sitting down for dinner with you and your wife a couple months ago. And I did meet Ashley when we were out at your nation last summer, and I had the pleasure of watching your daughter Sophia speak at the International Women's Day event here in Portage a couple weeks ago. And I've never seen somebody so young speak with so much grace and intelligence. And, between your two daughters, you must be very, very proud. I don't know if you have more family that I'm missing. I'm just speaking to the two that I've met.
Yeah. Well, I do have three daughters. I have Ashley Ozonko, who is my oldest. I have Melora Barton, who's our middle daughter. And now we have Sophia Smoke, who is our baby girl.
Okay.
And so Ashley is actually the band manager here in Dakota Plains. She is a certified teacher, as well as she has a degree in commerce. And then my middle daughter, Melora, she has a degree in education, as well as she specialized in early childhood education. So,
Okay.
And right now she's running the George Principal program here in Dakota Plains. And of course, there's Sophia, who's she's busy. She's an actress. She worked for CBC Kids, and she's a huge advocate for language and culture and history. So any history, she could have given you a really, enhanced history of the relationship between Portage and Dakota Plains and the federal government, because she just loves that stuff and she's good at it. So
Yeah, that's good. No, you have a very impressive family.
one of the and I do have to say the thing, Sophia, she's big into culture and language. She's a jingle dress dancer, and we like to give credit to my mother and my aunties from Sioux Valley. One of the things that we were lucky enough to have was where Sophia went to school. They allowed her on any given Friday to sit with my mom and my aunties as part of her curriculum. So that is where she would learn her language and her culture. So it was a little bit of a twist on the current provincial curriculum that we say really, really benefited Sophia. And our goal is to make that make people aware of that the potential is there for our children to not only become educated like the Western style, but also to make sure that the language and culture is incorporated. So we were blessed that way, and Sophia will be the first one to tell you that's why she's successful already at such a young age.
That's great.
Now I have a weird question for you, because it's puzzling to me. How did you end up as a Toronto Maple Leafs fan?
When I was in Sioux Valley, I was 10 years old. My grandpa, he was a huge original six, right? And he was a Leaf fan. So I ended up watching them for a bit, and I just love the Maple Leaf. But, I'm at the point now where I expect to be let down. So I'm okay now. I suffered for years, but I'm okay now.
You might want to switch teams there for at least the playoffs this year.
Well, you know what? I'm a Canadian hockey fan, and I always said the Jets are my number 2 team. But you're right. I think the Jets are going to go a long ways this year, and I'm excited for them.
Now, can you tell me about any accolades that you have in sport?
Well, I'm a two-time Manitoba Softball Hall of Famer, and I've been inducted twice with the Gladstone Whips and with the Sioux Valley Dakotas, and which was it was an honor because we had some good teams there, and so we had some great guys, and I just happened to be a part of a good couple of groups of guys, and so yeah, I'm very happy about that. And we had a few people pass on from the Sioux Valley Dakotas that we got to remember there, and they were very instrumental in our team being so successful. Like Frank Sue and my cousin Stacy Pratt and all of them, and Stacy Pratt, he was a huge Brandon Weeking guy. He played with Ray Ferrero and all those guys. So if we get a chance, Google him. Yeah, he was like a brother to me.
Yeah. Well, Colin, you got anything else before I get into my my fun questions?
No, let's dive in.
Okay, buddy.
Buckle up, Chief Smoke.
I asked these of all of our guests, so maybe you've heard these questions, maybe you haven't. Favorite book you've ever read?
What the heck is that book called? Playing with Fire, Theron Fleury.
Oh, nice one.
Never
Yes.
put it. I didn't put it. I'm not a reader, but once I started that thing, I couldn't put it down. Yeah.
Okay, that's a great one. Favorite movie of all time?
Oh, it's got to be Rocky.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
Rambo. Sylvester Stallone, he's the man.
Don't tell him my secret.
Uh-oh.
Would you believe that Colin has never seen Rocky?
Oh, man.
Like, I almost kicked him out of my house when he said that.
Well, we got to get some popcorn together. We have to go over to SP's there. We got to watch that together.
That's right.
We'll watch
I've
all
never
of them.
seen a single one.
I'll recite every line for you before it comes out.
Yeah, me too. We could probably reenact the whole thing right in front of him right here, but we don't have that kind of time. And the final question of the day: what is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
The best piece of advice I've ever received. There's a word in our language, and we say Damakota, and it means that I am a Dakota, and it means that I am strong. And my grandfather taught me that when I was a little man. He said that you're going to go through life. There's going to be struggles. He said, but always remember, you're a Dakota. And he says, say this, Damakota. So I said Damakota, and that was the best advice I ever got. People ask me sometimes nowadays, like, how can you do that? How can you put up with that? I always say Damakota. I am a Dakota. I am strong. So that'd be the best advice I ever got.
That's excellent. Well, that's everything. Unless you have something else you want to throw out there.
No.
Yeah.
Colin?
No, I always like to write down the advice that we're given on these podcasts, because I think, that it's a question that it's a pretty deep question, and everyone is usually pretty quick to answer, which means that they've taken this advice and they've lived with it. And that's why they're so quick to answer. So I just like jotting them down, because when you're having a bit of a shit day, you can go through and read them and feel a little bit better.
That's right, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate it, guys. It was fun.
Yep.
And that's it.
Wopida Koda.
Opida Koda.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.